It's impossible to make progress anywhere, including in business. A person limits themselves with certain beliefs. He says, I can earn $10,000, and this perception limits him. He thinks that he won't be able to earn more. Why does he think that way? He doesn't allow himself to go beyond the boundaries of his thinking, beyond the limits of his ambitions. Or he says, I can earn $100,000, but he can't imagine that he's capable of more. He has no way to go beyond his limits. He tries to control everything. Where everything is clear, he feels calm and feels he knows everything. All of us present here and everyone around us are the final result of hundreds of thousands of dedicated people. If we imagine, for example, the first person, Adam, and after him, thousands and thousands of different people, tens, hundreds of thousands of people who lived before us. They stand behind each and every one of us here, supporting us all. Each of us has such a unique chain of hundreds of thousands of people. And this potential, the entire chain, has been passed on to each of you. Each of you is the bearer of a truly unique heritage of these hundreds of thousands of people who over the course of 60 years have been reincarnating here on planet Earth. Behind each of you stand special people, unique individuals. Among them are both the righteous and the sinners. There are a great number of different personalities who try to accomplish something here. That is why we are all completely different people. Each person is made up of their own special heritage, which they receive through the chain from Adam to their parents. Now you are the bearers of this immense potential. Each of you knows about yourself from 1 to 10% approximately of the incredible potential that is embedded within you. You think that this is you. You think that what you really know about yourself is the truth. And that this is enough for your development and for your existence in the world. But this isn't even half of what you actually carry within you as the heritage of your ancestors. Each of you truly possesses very great talents in your own unique ways of all kinds. Amazing qualities, opportunities, thoughts, ideas that you have not yet realized at all because you do not currently have access to this information. And you don't have access because you cannot expand your boundary. And the boundary that you have set for yourself, you consider it comfortable, you feel good and pleasant within it. But every time you break through a boundary and go beyond it is accompanied by fear, pain, tension, and a sense of lack, which is exactly what our egotistical nature completely rejects. And our being does not want to move into places where effort is required, into places where there is concealment, into places that are unclear to us, into places that are unknown to us. It is afraid of losing what it has, clings to what it possesses, does not want to leave its comfort zone, does not want to go beyond the boundaries of its own little world description, does not want to go beyond the limits of its self-image. It cannot even imagine such a thing. But when we were children, if you remember that very moment when you didn't control the world at all, each of us was in a state where we controlled nothing, when he was completely in the power of his parents, and we were absolutely naive beings, trusting the whole world, not criticizing anything at all, not checking anything, not knowing what is good or what is evil. He was simply in absolute naivety in this world. If you go back a little in your memories to those states, to those feelings, you will see that you were originally in a reality in which you controlled nothing because you simply couldn't control anything. This is the original primary state in which you were born, and then you put on yourself many different masks and boundaries which were set by yourself and your environment, your parents, and so on, within which you began to control something. So the ability to return to that state of naivety, of a simple, innocent child who is completely under the care of their parents, is a very interesting state. It is a state of faith beyond understanding, of absolute trust. If a person cannot feel and comprehend such a state, cannot remain in it, they cannot receive transmission from a teacher. Many people want to receive transmission. They think, now I'll read all the books, now I'll ask a bunch of my questions, and I'll get answers. Finally, with my mind, I'll understand what it is, what these secrets of Kabbalah are, and all the rest, and everything will fit perfectly in my head. Finally, I'll really start controlling it again. In other words, I'll take it in through my own vessels of perception and start controlling reality with it. Baal Chasulam says that this is divine wisdom. It cannot be comprehended by the human mind. A person thinks that they will understand all of this with their mind. that the teacher says something to him, answers his questions, and he'll finally understand. But true transmission and understanding happen through the merging of souls. When you accept completely, when you trust absolutely, when you don't question what comes from the teacher, and an absolute fusion occurs. So in this state we were originally born. Until we taste from the tree of knowledge of good and evil in this world, that is, we begin to know what is good, what is bad, what is kindness, what is evil, and so on. And everyone receives this transmission from their superiors, what is good, what is bad. But initially, everyone receives this transmission in this form because it is a state of trust, of faith above understanding, and so on. It is absolutely critical in a person's development. He can develop without this state. He cannot gain independence without going through such experiences of states of faith when he relies on someone who guides him, who cares for him, who worries about him, and so on. This state of primary faith, of naivety, is critically important in a person's spiritual development. But the divine cannot be understood with the human mind. It is understood when the Almighty reveals it. He gives it freely from his own intention. Therefore, anyone who thinks he can understand the Creator with his mind and limit him by that does not reach where he needs to go. Today's important lesson is called the ability to let go of control. Achieving the desired effect in practice is impossible without the ability to let go of control. Here we will examine more advanced contemplation techniques. So now it is especially important to immerse yourself in this topic. Because there are those who encounter fear of the unknown during contemplation and have difficulty forgetting themselves for the duration of solitude, therefore, it is necessary to know one of the main principles of the Baal Shem Tov, to become nothing, in order to feel the Creator. For the Almighty created reality and made something out of nothing, concealing Himself, and gave creation the ability to feel a separate reality where there is free will. But the righteous person turns their own reality into nothing, and then the reality of the Almighty is revealed, where there is nothing but the Creator, and everything is governed solely by the Creator. So, any new attainment or revelation must go through a process where being turns into non-being, and from it, a new existence is born, like a seed that is decayed in the soil and then gives rise to a new sprout. Maintaining oneself in a state of nothingness is an important quality that must be acquired. Let us see what Baal HaSulam writes about this in the book Or Ba'ir. Perfection in deeds and commandments is achieved by elevating the soul to its source, to cling to and unite with the righteous one who receives that commandment and the light. For the vessels of perception of the righteous are absolutely suitable for eternal and pure reception. And likewise, the ascending soul, as it rises, joins its vessels of perception to the perfected vessels of perception of the righteous. This becomes possible when the vessels of perception of the one ascending are completely emptied of any light that was previously clothed within them. Only then is it truly possible to unite with the vessels of the righteous. But if there remains even something from what was previously clothed in his vessels, union with the vessels of the righteous becomes impossible. For this reason, before every ascent of the soul, the one ascending is obliged to free and purify his vessels of perception from any light that has ever been received in them. This is called removing the garments of the material. This means that any light received by the vessels of perception is called material, for it has already been perceived by the body and materialized, and only then will he be ready for the ascent. The teacher speaks about the level of the righteous, which can be considered within a single person. In order to ascend to it, he likens himself to those levels from which he learns. This also refers to contact with the righteous who wrote these books and guide us along the path of the Creator. These individuals are absolutely devoted souls, existing in the spiritual world. Therefore, when we want to connect with these spiritual levels, we must completely purify ourselves from everything that has clothed itself within us, such as our own understanding, and strive to receive transmission from higher spiritual levels than those on which we currently stand. A righteous person can be regarded as a higher spiritual level in which the Almighty is revealed. This occurs within the observer himself, since he himself wishes to ascend to a new level that he has not yet attained. This is the deepest layer of perception where a person can comprehend the world more purely and correctly. And here, he must reach a qualitatively new level of bestowal where the inner teacher is revealed, or in other words, a response comes from above. As the sages say, the soul of a person teaches him. Ascending to this point requires complete purification of consciousness, and even from the spiritual attainments previously experienced. While in a state of contemplation, one must always be prepared for surprises, for without this, it is impossible to bring forth something new from potential or to extract it from our spiritual subconscious. In this way, we connect with the righteous one, that is, with ourselves at the end of correction, in absolute perfection. There we exist in constant connection with the Creator, perceiving His infinite light. In the process of spiritual work, mysteries will be revealed to us. One must strongly desire to comprehend them, because without passion, it is impossible to attract spiritual attainments to oneself. You've probably forgotten our main rule: we do not divide our life into spiritual and material like some people do. We deeply engage with this life, treating it entirely as spiritual matters. Everything is spiritual. In Kabbalah, only one thing is called material, the desire to receive for oneself. When a person wants to live solely as an egoist, that is called material. Otherwise, it doesn't matter what you do. You can go to work, you can interact with people, you can go for walks, play sports. I don't know what else you might do, eat, and all of this can be spiritual for us. The question is, with what intention are you doing it? That's why we don't have a worldview where this is considered spiritual, and that is material. We don't have that division. For us, everywhere, the focus is on one goal, both internally and externally. You can't live in this world without letting go of control. No one can live without letting go of control. For example, if a person, God forbid, gets sick, he goes to a doctor, and the doctor decides for him what he will take and how he will do it. And you have to let go of control in order to accept what the doctor tells you. Do you need a lawyer's services? You have to let go of control. He has to tell you what to do. Do you need a psychologist's services? He has to tell you what to do. You have to let go of control and do what he tells you. Do you want to do sports? You have to let go of control. Your coach has to tell you exactly what you need to do to instruct or guide you. Are you going to study at a university? But you can't start learning until you begin to rely on those who know, while you don't. There's no thing is nowhere. No one can truly grow beyond who they already are. Not really. They have to let go of control in order to move to the next level. How will you do this materially, spiritually, wherever you want? There's no such thing. It works the same way in business. The one who tries to control absolutely everything always ends up very badly in the end. People who try to control everything end up in a psychiatric hospital because they think that they really, truly can control. They control everything. Then others start to control them, but in different places. People who control everything are unhappy people. By whom is light accepted as good? Light is not always good. I'll give you an example. Is nuclear energy good? Why? Someone could blow up the whole world with nuclear energy, make a nuclear bomb. Is that good? You say light is good, light is pleasure. Anyone can receive light, anyone can receive pleasure. And what, this light won't kill them? No, not everyone. Not everyone has vessels. Yet you say light is good. It depends on for whom. And if a person looks at the light and it blinds him because it dazzles him, is that good? No, that's not good. It's good for those with vessels. For those without, it's bad. The light burns some, others it doesn't. That's why all these things are relative. Another light doesn't necessarily mean, as you said at the beginning, that it's some kind of impure knowledge. It could be knowledge that a person acquires in holiness. It doesn't matter. He simply won't be able to advance to the next level. If he can't become an empty vessel in order to move towards it, he won't have passion, a sense of lack. In spirituality, nothing can be given if there is no desire. If someone is filled, it's impossible to fill him with the next level. He must empty himself. And it doesn't matter whether it was pure light, impure light, new light. The law works the same for everyone. You won't be able to receive new light, a new portion of attainment, until you cleanse yourself of the old. Yes, only self-nullification helps here. There are no other options. How do you do this? You can learn from our physical body. Just as it gets hungry every day in order to eat a new portion. You don't tell your body, do you remember how tasty it was yesterday? It doesn't care that it was tasty yesterday. It wants it today all over again. it applies spiritually. If a person relies on the fact that he attained or understood something in the past, but today is not moving forward, he is like someone with spiritual anorexia. Then he is ill. He needs to be treated with spiritual procedures. Which ones? By being in the company of people who awaken themselves to new levels, to new attainments, to take on new challenges, to attend more advanced lessons, to engage in complex work, to increase the load. There are no other options. You think that everything the Creator does is clear to you, but what you do yourself is unclear to you. This is actually very interesting. It's very interesting in reality. It's not like that. The truth is that everything the Creator does is unclear to you. That's the truth. And the fact that it's always you doing everything is much clearer to you. That's the truth. As for what you can't understand, I don't know, because you're philosophizing. But in reality, everything is very clear. You act and you feel that it's you doing everything. And when you want to feel what he's doing, you have to pause yourself and switch over. That's when you'll encounter a reality that you do not comprehend. You will need to pray for the Almighty to reveal this secret to you that you do nothing and He does everything. This is completely incomprehensible. I need to attain, not just to study. That's why I say it's incomprehensible. It only seems to you that you understand. In reality, it's not clear because you have not attained it. Baal HaSulam says this is the hardest thing. Everything is done by the Creator because a person is doing everything himself. That's the feeling he has in this world. He's always doing something. Even when he wants to switch to the idea that everything is done by the Creator, then he feels he's doing it himself. Why this seems clear to you, I don't know. It's not clear at all. When you say that you understood, you haven't understood anything yet. When you attain it, that's when you'll understand. For now, it's just philosophy, just talk. I hope you'll attain it soon if you start actually doing. There will never be any surprises if you keep waiting in advance for it to happen. Don't you hear the foolishness in that? How can you know surprises in advance? Then there wouldn't be surprises anymore. Next, Baal HaSulam said the following. Another reason why is one must remove garment of material is that everyone who ascends rises to the spiritual level of the crown or Keter. And this does not depend on their level, whether it is small or great. For example, a small degree rises to the crown of the world of Asiya, the world of action. A higher one to the crown of the world of Yetzirah. And even higher one to the crown of the world of Beria, and so on. But it is known that at the level of Keter there is no vessel of perception. For this reason, the one who ascends must be freed from all attainments that he once perceived. There should be no vessels within him that would desire or interfere with his ascent to a place where there is no vessel at all. And here it is necessary to understand that when the highest crown appeared, the crowns of all spiritual levels appeared, down to the world of Asiya, the world of action, and their nature is the same. For they appeared as if imprinted from a single seal, truly. And the only difference between them is in the distance or the screens that conceal the perception of the light. For the Malchut of the higher becomes the Keter for the lower. Understand this from what was said above. The more strongly one removes the garment of the material, the higher the levels that a person is able to attain, the more he ultimately succeeds in this, the higher will be the world of his ascent. And remember that the material is a concept that is present in every attainment that has ever been perceived by the vessels. From this passage, we learn yet another interesting definition to ascend to Keter, which means to completely stop perceiving what was previously attained. Keter, or the crown, is above the head, which spiritually means above understanding, and it contains the entire potential of the spiritual degree in its final result, at the end of correction. It is precisely at this point that we can sense the Almighty. To ascend to the supreme crown of all worlds means to enter the world of infinity. Each world has its own Keter. With proper spiritual work, we ascend to the Keter of our world, the world of action. In this way, we connect with the world of angels, Yetzirah. Therefore, anyone who wishes to ascend through the spiritual world, first and foremost, must learn to free their consciousness from past experiences and knowledge. Baal HaSulam gives us instructions on how to enter into contemplation, to penetrate its depths, and this is called the ascent of the soul. By our very nature, we always want to feel confident, relying on accumulated knowledge and experience. It is precisely this that prevents us from penetrating into the depths of our subconscious. When we enter the world of contemplation, we try to perceive it by relying on our own knowledge in order to feel comfortable in a world unknown to us. We bring parts of our consciousness there that prevent us from letting go and surrendering ourselves to the hands of higher guidance. We are often seized by fear in a state of lack of control when someone else governs reality and we are placed in their hands. That is why we must understand that any advancement, whether in the material world or in the spiritual, depends on this ability to go beyond boundaries. Whoever cannot go beyond boundaries remains at their own level, within their own limits, and it seems to them that these boundaries are who they are, that this is what will be, what they know, what exists, and that there is nothing more. Everything we want to control, everything you imagine as your familiar comfort zone, and everything we know about ourselves and the world. If we want to go beyond these limits, it will be accompanied by pain and unpleasant sensations for us, because this is unpleasant for the evil inclination. It doesn't want to go where things are unknown. As was said to our forefather Abraham, go forth for yourself. The Almighty said to him, go forth for yourself to the land that I will show you, without specifying which country. And he went, how long can you keep going like that? If you don't set limits, then endlessly. But if you have some kind of limit that tells you, well, you can go like this for 3 days, or you can go like this for 3 years, or with certain conditions I can go like this as I like, then you can go endlessly. Who can go endlessly? The one who trusts completely. He can go endlessly. Therefore, there's no other way to reach this except by going faith above understanding. And it is precisely about breaking through these states that are unpleasant and uncomfortable for us. The one who does this will reach other levels and attain something new. And the Almighty made it so that a person would fear Him. The Almighty arranged it so that everyone would fear Him. The Almighty made it so that it would be unpleasant for us to move to the next level, so that we would make efforts, overcoming ourselves. But by our very nature, we are drawn to pleasure, not to effort, opposite what's needed. That's why we keep treading in place, staying within our own boundaries, within our own perceptions, and nothing new comes. As the wisest of all men, King Solomon already told us, there is nothing new under the sun. In Kabbalah, the sun represents your knowledge and understanding. What you have already understood, there is nothing new there anymore. You can only rise above the sun, above your knowledge. In faith, that is where something new exists. Without that, there is nothing new. You must acquire faith. Letting go of control is not just some kind of exercise. Ideally, letting go of control is when you do something that you don't want to do and that feels unpleasant. It's when you go beyond your own boundaries. And once again, I repeat, this is unpleasant for our ego. That is why Baal HaSulam says that it is precisely when you can do more than you are able to, or more than you think you can, only this very drop is in fact considered serving the Creator. That you can do just a little more than you think you can. Look at the boundary you have set for yourself and ask yourself, why only up to this point and not further? Everything you know about yourself. Stop and ask yourself, I know myself as a certain kind of persona to this boundary. Why didn't I go further? What is holding you back? Please check yourself. To what extent are you able to dream? When we were children, notice, we were in a state of innocence, simplicity, where nothing limited us. For example, we could dream of becoming astronauts. We could dream of traveling through time. We could dream of doing all sorts of things that are unrealistic. Why don't we dream about these things now? Rav Kalonimus says we have a filter in our minds, one that dismisses any thought that arises with our own criticism if it seems unrealistic or impractical in this world. And that's why we stop dreaming. We focus only on things that seem real and practical to us, things that can actually bring us some benefit in this physical world. We stop dreaming about something lofty. For example, who dreams of becoming president? Or dreams of being some kind of true pioneer of otherworldly realms? The people who do dream are very few. And why is that? They have set boundaries for themselves, places they don't allow themselves to go. They believe it's not meant for them. They think they're not capable of it. But who told them that they can't? Who set those boundaries for them? Why are there some people who actually achieve great things? There are a few of them, not many. And everyone keeps within these limits. Why did they allow themselves to want and to dream of these things? And we don't just think about that. it's a really good topic for reflection. Why did we set those boundaries for ourselves and refuse to go further? Our teachers say that students should respect their teacher more than their mother and father, because mother and father took part in creating their bodies, while the teacher takes part in shaping their soul. But just try to really honestly do that. Just try. There is a natural sense of respect for parents, though some people don't even have that. Nowadays, in general, a person has a natural feeling toward their parents. But it is very difficult to cancel a relationship with a person who is a stranger. It's not easy. A person has distrust. They're constantly afraid of everything. They can't follow the teacher all the way to the end. If there were people here who would go all the way with me, they would already be in completely different places. Everyone has their own special excuses for why they don't do exactly what the teacher says. Not completely or not fully. There's a filter in the mind. The teacher speaks, but a person uses this filter to reject what they don't want and only takes what seems important to them. And that's why the entire transmission doesn't reach the person in its pure form, but only what they want to take. As a result, it turns out that they are working only from the desire to receive. They want to take only what is convenient for them, what is pleasant for them, as if only what seems good for them, to them personally. But a complete transmission doesn't happen, because it only passes through in its entirety, in the full form in which it is meant to be, with all its, as it seems to us, positive and negative sensations. You cannot ignore any part of the transmission. Therefore, it depends on complete merging, genuine trust, and the student's ability to truly follow the teacher. In everything the teacher points out to them, in all matters, but for people this is very difficult to do. There are only a few who are capable of it. There is no such person who was born responsible. How could you be responsible if you were born a child who knew nothing about this world, didn't know how to move, how to walk, how to eat? You relied on those who raised you and were by your side at that moment. You really couldn't decide anything on your own, check anything on your own, or do anything on your own. That's why you simply block these feelings from yourself when you wanted to control reality. You're afraid to be in a state of naivety. You fear this feeling. You've blocked it from yourself because you want to control everything. And in addition to that, most likely you experienced some trauma in the past because you trusted someone deeply and then they abandoned you. And that's why now you don't want to trust again. A child cannot be born wanting to control their reality. They have no idea at all what this reality is. You were born into a reality in which you knew nothing. You were taught. A person is taught. This is an apple. This is mom. This is dad. You didn't know what it was, so how could you control it? So it's just the way you imagine it. There is one exercise, it's called faith above understanding. You simply do what your teacher tells you. Whether you like it or not, you go and do it. Until you reach a state of absolute trust. I don't know any other ways. Where should you use control? But you use it everywhere, darling. Look at how you use it all the time, constantly controlling everything. And you are asking me right now about where exactly you can use it. It's better to ask, where do you not use control? It's actually easier to say that we basically don't use it when we go to sleep. When we go to bed, we let go of control. And even then, there are some people who can't fall asleep. They have insomnia, they have thoughts that haunt them. They can't let go of control even in their sleep. But for the most part, the place where we finally let go of control is when we go to bed, or when we have no other choice, when, God forbid, someone is taken to the doctor and they're told to do everything the doctors say, just do it. And then he starts to do it. Whether he wants to or not, he goes on a diet, quits smoking, gives up alcohol, and so on. When he has already brought himself to a state where a doctor has to tell him what to do, only then does he let go of control. Otherwise, it's very hard for him to live without it. That's why when he doesn't let go of control for a long time, when he tries to control everything, then drugs or alcohol often come into play, because with their help, he can finally truly let go of control. But this is a transition into another state where you become dependent and sick. That's why it's better to reach this through the Torah, not through suffering.